Yo, what's up, everybody? So my name's Corey Walland, and if this is the first time you ever seen one of my videos, I'm a professional poker player, and in the last few months, I've been getting much stronger with my faith and my relationship with God. I've been saved since I was 15 years old, but I guess you can say I've been going into overdrive the last few months, and this guy right here, Gilbert, has been instrumental in that, and I've had a lot of questions for him, mainly through Facebook, and this is my first time coming to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where he lives and where he has his church. Exponential Church. I love this sign, by the way. I really love that. So yeah, this is essentially letting you guys eavesdrop on our conversations, because instead of it just being for me and him, I had a feeling that a lot of people were going to have the same type of questions, and he had this brilliant idea to start recording it. So I'm in Harrisburg right now, and I don't know if you wanted to add in anything for there or just no. All right, so we're just gonna. So this is the second episode of this, and if you hadn't watched it, in the first one, I brought up a story about when I was downtown Charleston, which is where I live, and I helped some homeless people, and I wasn't sure if it was God telling me to say it or if it was my own thought. And my next question that I had for him was in regards to the guy that I helped outside of Walgreens, where it was very apparent that he had some mental handicaps, I guess would be the best way to put it. And, just to kind of give you a visual, well, I can't do the faces that he made, but whenever you say something to somebody and then their face immediately changes and their whole vibe changes, like, whoa, okay, there's something going on upstairs there. And that led me to the question of, do mentally handicapped people, I'm not sure that's the best way to put it, but do mentally handicapped people, are they going to be judged the same way on Judgment Day? And does God have any extra grace towards them, or does he kind of let some things slide in a sense that he wouldn't for normal people? I feel like bad saying that, but I don't know if that was, excuse me if that came across the wrong way. I wasn't sure really the best way to even ask this question.
No, that's a great question. You and I had a pretty extensive conversation about that, and going back and forth on Facebook. Again, I'm Gilbert. I'm the lead pastor at Exponential Church here in Harrisburg, and a fellow poker player. That's how.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. That's how we know each other.
That's how we know each other through poker. But this is an interesting question, and one of the things I share with you about that is it's a lot of ways, like with children, that little kids, until we come to an age where we know that, oh my goodness, I've messed up, I am a sinner, and I need someone to forgive me of my sin, because none of us can save ourselves from our sin. And by the way, we're all sinners, right? None of us have been perfect, myself included, right?
Absolutely.
And yeah, I want to get into all the stuff that I look back on. I'm like, oh man. So we all need to do something about our sin. But when you're a little kid, you don't understand, the whole, concept of sin, and that you would need somebody to forgive you of your sin, and that you could never be good enough to do something about your sin. So God shows grace and mercy to children when they die, because they just don't have the mental capabilities to understand that. And it'd be the same way with someone that's mentally handicapped, is that God's going to judge them in the same way. And the word that I used with you, and I sent you on a wild goose chase in the Bible, and this
is why I still have this question, because he told me to read a certain part of the Bible, Romans 1-3, and I'm like, Gilbert, what did I just read? And he's like, well, it's kind of like putting you through calculus before even teaching you addition. I'm like, well, that's how I feel when I'm reading this. So That's kind of why I even wanted to ask him this again, because I kind of understood what he said, but not really. And I think a lot of you might have the same question.
That was one of the analogies, and for those of you guys that are poker players, the first analogy I used with you was teaching somebody how to cold 4-bet bluff when they don't even know what beats what yet, right?
You're non-poker players, don't even worry about that.
Right.
It's too much to explain. But cold 4-betting is a very advanced concept. If someone doesn't even know the rules of poker, it's kind of like this. So.
But yeah, so I had said to you that, I want to just sort of give you an assignment, see how you do with it. And you're like, what?
I read it 3 times, by the way. 3 times.
So
didn't click.
In Romans chapter 1, 2, and 3, the Apostle Paul. And by the way, let me real quick share with you about Apostle Paul real quick.
All right, first off, what's an apostle?
Somebody that travels to share the good news of Jesus with others, get new churches started and stuff like that. But Paul was actually formerly this guy named Saul, and Saul so hated Christians. This is when Christianity is first getting started. So Jesus has been, he died on the cross, he's buried, he's resurrected, he's made this appearance to a lot of people, and they're eyewitnesses. Well, Saul was one of the guys that said, no, that's blasphemy. He can't be God, and he was talking about, forgiving people and he was the way to have eternal life. Saul's actually murdering Christians, like killing them and authorizing their execution because he is so against Jesus. But then he has this
murdering them, like actually.
Yeah. Like,
whoa! All right.
So you can read that in the book of Acts that he is there ordering the execution, stoning to death the Christians, and he was sort of on this mission to go city to city and murder Christians because he was so against this whole Christianity movement. But one day, while Saul is traveling to the city of Damascus in Syria, he gets knocked off his horse. So you've heard that saying before, he got knocked off his high horse.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that comes from the Bible. And that's Saul. Saul gets knocked off his horse and he meets Jesus, the resurrected Jesus. And it so changes his life seeing that Jesus is truly alive again, that Saul now, instead of traveling to be anti-Christian, he now becomes who we call the great apostle Paul and travels all over the then known world sharing his faith. So that's a little bit of background. But he eventually writes this.
That's who wrote Romans.
He eventually writes this letter to the church that was meeting in Rome. And in Romans chapter 1, 2, and 3, the way we summarize it is chapter 1 is about the light of creation, chapter 2 is about the light of conscience, and chapter 3 is about the light of Christ. And so this question comes up a lot of times, not necessarily around people who are mentally handicapped, but a lot of people go, if Jesus is the only way that somebody can make it to heaven, what about somebody like in the deep, dark jungles of Africa or, in South America or something, these tribes that never even seen other people outside of even their tribe. They don't even know necessarily that there's even other civilization that's out there. Well, what would happen to somebody like that? And that's what Paul's sort of addressing here in that, is that all of us have what's called the light of creation. In other words, Corey, you were yesterday, you're saying, hey, where's a great place in Harrisburg? I can go out and just sort of take in the sights and stuff. And by sights, you didn't mean the buildings. You wanted to be along the river and walking through nature and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And you can't help but just to look at nature and the changing of the seasons and just the sunset. Yeah, you saw a beautiful
I have a thing for sunsets.
Yeah, a beautiful sunset that you got to see. And, the stars in the sky. You can't help but to see all that and go, wow, there's got to be a creator. That, this can't be by accident. Now, obviously, there are some people that believe that this whole thing is just an accident.
A Big Bang?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, and
I don't see how people could but anyway.
But even in that, and there's actually a Christian case you can make for the Big Bang.
Oh, okay.
That God said bang and it happened, right? But no, seriously, everything has to have a start. And a lot of people think that Christians are anti-science. We're not. Science is just sort of the explanation of how did God do things. Now, an atheist would say, well, there is no God, and it just sort of happened. But we believe that God is the creator. And as you look at science, the universe is expanding. And so if it's expanding, that means that at some point it was much, much smaller, to the point that it could have been nothing that started with sort of a bang. But the thing with that is you can't have nothing. Nothing cannot exist. There always has to be something. And so for even a bang to happen, there had to be a banger, somebody that started this. So for a creation to be, there has to be a creator, right? But anyway, that's a completely different
sorry, I do that.
Sort of topic. But
I get off on these tangents. I have little random questions in my head.
No, that's fine. But that's this whole thing that as Christians we believe that that there is a creator. Now, somebody.
But that's all in our hearts. Whether you're in the jungle and never heard of the Bible or seen other people,
all of us have got to be going. Okay, there's got to be something bigger than us. Then Romans chapter 2 talks about the light of conscience. That all of us have a conscience in us that lets us know the difference between right or wrong. Where do our morals, come from?
Like we all know we're not supposed to murder. Right. We all know we're not supposed to steal. Right. Like that's in us already.
Right. So it doesn't matter where you travel in the world, even if you don't have a law that's written by a government or a law that's written in a holy book, a religious book of some sort that says do not steal. Everybody knows that I shouldn't take, things from somebody that's not my own. And so even in those deep, dark jungles of Africa or wherever, people still steal under the cover of night. Because in your heart, it's wrong. Okay?
So if it was right, they would just do it in daytime or do it. Okay.
Right. And so even with just those two things, to go, wow, there's things about me that I don't like, that I wish could change. And I wonder if this creator, even if you don't know to call him God or Jesus or whatever,
Or even if you never heard those words
even
before.
if you never heard those words, there's something in us that goes, I wish I could change. I wonder if that creator could be the one that could forgive me and help me. And that is enough light for those types of people that have never heard about Jesus to be able to make it to heaven. So they're judged on the light that they've been given. Now here in America, whether you believe in Jesus or not, we've all heard of Jesus. And we know that the story of Jesus is basically that he is God in the flesh. He came and lived a perfect and sinless life, and he died on the cross in payment for our sins because he realized that we couldn't be perfect, but yet he could be, and he could be the one that sacrificed his life in payment for our sin. And so that's what we're judged on. What did you do with Jesus? Did you ask him for his forgiveness or not?
That would be the third one, the light of
That's the light of Christ.
Okay. So for someone who's mentally handicapped, they're only going to be judged on the light or the knowledge that they have of the creation and
so
of
even,
their conscience.
Even in creation and conscience in Christ, we've been given different amounts of light of all three of those. So God will judge all of us differently in that sense of what did you do with the amount of light that was given to you?
I don't know if we've mentioned, but like when you say light, can you like maybe put that into another word? Because like I remember when I'm reading that, you told me that.
The amount of revelation that he's given to you,
Still not clicking. Because like when I read Romans the first time, he said, okay, let me give you a hint for the second time, and he told me that, and I'm like, well, what is light of creation? What is light of? Like I didn't know what light meant. So the amount that has been revealed to you, or the amount that
that's been revealed to you. So some people say, well, in light of all that has happened.
Oh, I do say that.
See,
okay,
and then we're going to make these.
But with every
in light of that there's a creator, in light of the fact that you have a conscience, in light of Christ, what did you do with that? Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes, absolutely. So I guess the answer to the question would be everybody's going to be judged differently based off those three things. But some people don't have the third thing because they never heard of Jesus. So they're only going to be judged off their light of creation and the light of consciousness that they have.
Right. But again, as Americans and in Western civilizations,
we have no excuse.
We have no excuse. It's what did you do with Jesus? And Jesus said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And that's a pretty, a lot of people are like, oh, you're trying to shove Jesus down our throats, or how dare you say that Jesus is the only way? Well, the argument isn't with me. The argument is actually with Jesus himself. He is the one that makes this very exclusive claim that he is the only way. It's not Buddha, not Muhammad, not Confucius, not any other thing. It's Jesus. And so that ultimately is the question that all of us have to wrestle with. Did Jesus really rise again from the dead or not? And as I shared in the first episode, I haven't always been a Christian. I spent half of my life not as a Christian, the other half now that I have been a Christian. And as I was investigating for myself, because it's not just this like blind faith that you just have of, hopefully Jesus did. There is actually eyewitness accounts, written accounts, not just from the Bible and the testimony that we have there, but other extra biblical accounts and various other things that we can look at. Maybe we'll talk about those things in some other episodes. But I eventually got to the place where it would have taken me more faith not to believe than it took me to believe, because the evidence was just so overwhelming that I was like, okay, this is for real. Jesus really did rise again from the dead. He really did, he really did rise again from the dead. So therefore, anything he says, I've now got to take seriously, whether I like it or not. And I've been a pastor for 20 years now. There's a lot of things in Scripture that I wish weren't there, right? Because there's certain ways I would like to live life or do things, but because of Jesus, I can't, because the evidence is so overwhelming that he truly did rise again from the dead. And so I've got to take his word seriously. And I encourage you to do the same thing and for them to do the same thing.
So the short answer to the question is yes, they will be judged differently. All right. Well, that was very helpful. Guys, if you have any questions or any added comments that you want to put down below, I'm sure he'll be checking the videos and he'll be able to respond to those, or I could respond, but I'm still learning as we're going.
I am too. Yeah. I mean, it's a thing that no matter how long you've been a Christian, you're always going to be learning. And again, I'm not perfect myself, and I don't have all the answers.
Nobody's perfect, by the
You
way.
know, yeah, and we're not looking to debate anybody that maybe.
Yeah.
We just want to have a conversation.
That's literally what this is you guys eavesdropping essentially on our conversation, but I'm looking at the camera like it's a third person kind of here,
Right.
like you know, you're like you're in the room with us. So
The way I like to describe, as we wrap up, I like to describe it this way: I'm just one beggar who found some bread, and I'm telling other beggars where I found bread. So it doesn't make me better. It's just, hey, I found something, and I think it would be valuable to you, and if it can be of help to you, great.
Wow.
So yeah, we just want to have a conversation. Yeah.
that was good. Wow, that was good. I don't know why it didn't click like that when you first said it to me. We had a long talk about this. I read Romans 3 times, but all right, thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Another great one here, and man, thank you so much. So as always, guys, God bless and think bink. We'll see you for the next one.
I think bink, it's true. I think bink, I think you should too.